It's said that in about 25 years' time, the African continent is going to have some 2.5 billion people. That's a lot of people. A lot of those people, most of those people should be educated. Those people should actually be out in the market working and also demanding services and demanding housing, demanding all kinds of things that ordinary human beings need to satisfy their lives. And so part of the conversations that are being had here at the B20 and the broader G20 is how do we cater for that future? Of course, the conversations are around what the world needs globally, but more concentration, of course, on the African continent, simply because, of course, it's the first time that the G20 has a presidency in the African continent. And therefore, because of that, the bias is towards talking about how can we be future fit going forward. Let me speak to now Shadi Chauke. She's Group Executive at Sanlam, and she's also the Deputy Chair of the B20 Employment and Education Task Force. Shadi, thank you so much for speaking to us. Now, education and employment are such an important nexus, what I want to know from you is what kind of conversations have been had around how we go ahead and prepare in the education space for the future, especially when we always hear about the fourth industrial revolution, AI, etc., etc.
So in our Employment and Education Task Force, we made several recommendations around education. The first one was around early childhood education, because we recognize that that's a very important thing that governments should invest in, because that is the future generation. And the second is around demand-led skilling for re- and upskilling people, really, just as you've just said now, with the advancement of AI and technology.
And just in terms of the future, we're going to have so many young people, what the so-called demographic dividend. What sort of skills of the future do you expect people to be occupying? What sort of courses should people be looking to do now so that they're future fit?
Well, definitely with the advancement of technology, I think digital skills are important for all young people. And also because we, as part of our Employment and Education Task Force, we're also advocating for jobs. We recognize that the jobs of the future are actually going to come from infrastructure. So it is important that young people are also skilled in trade skills, in terms of engineering, in terms of really artisanal skills, so that they can be able to participate in infrastructure products, infrastructure development.
So from your point of view as Sanlam, why is it important to engage in these conversations? I mean, obviously you are very much consumer facing and need that to be resilient.
It's very important for us to participate as the largest non-banking financial services group on this continent. And so for us, it was very important to make sure that we really advance our contribution to the discussions around, especially how we address employment, with our country facing such a large, high, unemployment rate in the country. So we were very much really advocating around how we can create employment for people.
And maybe this is a little bit off topic in terms of the task force, but in terms of access to insurance, not everybody can afford insurance, but that's something that's going to be quite important going forward. Assuming the metrics turn out right, more people have access to the right education, to the right jobs, that will mean you have a ready-made market of people who can afford to be insured. But that is still a concern.
It is very much so. That is why also, as part of our recommendations around education, we were also advocating for educating people from a financial point of view. So financial literacy is a very important thing, so that people can be, more informed around what kind of products that are, accessible to them to be able to protect themselves and their assets, from any kind of shock events that can happen in their lives. Yeah.
All right, Shadi, thank you so much for speaking to us. That was Shadi Chauke. She's Group Executive at Sanlam, and she's also Deputy Chairperson of the B20 Employment and Education Task Force. This is a very critical task force, a very critical topic, because without the necessary education, it's going to be very tricky going forward, because the African continent needs to be able to create jobs with all the investment and everything that people are talking about. You need that demographic dividend to be there at hand, to be able to plug in and fill in the capacities that will become available in order to power the continent going forward. With that, it's back to you in studio.